Hey guys, what's up? Producer engineer Alex Scott here with Consordini.com. Thank you so much for checking out another one of our gear reviews. Now, today we are taking a look at something that my entire career would not be possible without. The Antelope Orion 32 channel audio interface. This thing is incredible. It is an absolute powerhouse. After watching the video, if you want to take a look at purchasing an Orion, we will have a link down in the description to Amazon where you can take a look at pricing and potentially pick one up. If you do, that will help the channel out a bit. So we would really appreciate it if you are thinking of buying one using that link. But what I want to go ahead and do, we're down here by the rack so you guys can kind of see the front panel. I'm going to go over the basic features, talk about the ins and outs and all of that stuff. And then I also want to jump into the computer real quick and show you guys we basically we have an amazing software control panel that comes with the Antelope that basically turns it into a digital patch bay. It's very, very cool. So we'll take a look at that in a bit. But I just wanted to go over the features and talk about how much I love it, really. I've used this interface for about 2 years. If you guys haven't seen the channel, just a quick rundown on what I do. I'm a professional musician, mixing engineer, record producer, mastering engineer. I wear many, many different hats. And because of all of that, and because of the studio that I run, I've got a ton of outboard synths, a ton of outboard mixing gear. You can see compressors and stuff down here and up there. I've got a lot of gear. And I do a lot of different things with music. So I needed an interface that could keep up with pretty much anything that I threw at it. And an interface that had enough I/O and a good enough clock to be able to hook up all these crazy different things that I have, be super flexible, super responsive, super low latency, have incredibly high quality converters, and it checks all of those boxes and then some. So, taking a look at the back panel, we'll fly in a picture so you guys can follow along. I dragged the camera behind our rack here, but it's a bit messy back there, as you can imagine. We have primarily the main kind of I/O on this thing is 32 channels in and out on D-sub or DB25 connectors. So these are the Tascam 25 pin 8-channel analog connectors. We have 8 of them total, 4 in, 4 out. We also have 16 channels in and out on ADAT. Incredibly handy, and you can patch all that stuff in the software. We also have 3 word clock outputs, which is amazing. Antelope is not only known for their converters and their interfaces, they are also known for the 10M clock. It's an incredibly high quality word clock, and this one has a very stripped down version of the 10M built inside. And so I run these BNC connectors from the word clock out to my digital preamps, which I have connected over ADAT. Now, the clocking is awesome, and I love that this unit has such a great clock and multiple clock outputs. Usually you have to mess around with daisy chaining and getting 75 ohm terminators and all this stuff. This one, you just go straight out. You have multiple outputs, so any digital gear, you're going to be able to hook it up with word clock. We also have MADI for 64 channels in and out. MADI is another kind of digital interfacing protocol. And of course, power, a few other odds and ends. But that is the bulk of it. So coming back around to the front here, the front panel is incredibly sleek. This thing is built like a tank, by the way. It's all really nice, soft touch aluminum. It's gorgeous. We have customizable meters here, which you can set up in the software. We'll take a look at that in a second. You have frequency selection so that you can, if you're running it either as standalone or if your DAW is slaved to the clock in here, you can set your sample rate. You do have your oven, lock, and 10M lights all tell you what states your clocking is in, which is great. And then my personal favorite is that you have these routing preset buttons here, and this allows you to switch just at the touch of a button between your different routing presets. So the way I have it set up is, number one is when I'm tracking drums and I'm using my ADAT external preamps. You might be able to see them up here, the Audient ASP 800s. I have those going in over ADAT, and so in the routing software, I have it set up so that when I am in mode 1, all of my inputs are routed from ADAT. Well, if I switch it over to mode 2, that then takes away my preamps and instead routes all of the analog I/O all the DB25 I/O to in and out of my rat gear so that I can use them as inserts within my DAW. Mode 3 I have configured as a vocal chain, where it brings it in from some of my best preamps, and then it actually is acting as a patch bay and patching it into a few different compressors. So then when I go into my DAW and I pick, input 1, input 2, input 3, they're different vocal recording chains so that I can easily swap through and hear a Neve through an 1176 versus a tube preamp through a Neve 2254 versus, a bunch of the other stuff that I have. So you can really configure these to set up the I/O exactly how you want, and you can just click through in real time. I do have to close out of my DAW in order for it to switch over, which is a minor nuisance, but it is a sacrifice I am happily willing to make given how powerful this thing is. So let's jump up to the computer real quick and take a look with a screen cap at the control panel software so you guys can see that. This is our master control center for our Orion 32. It's way more simple than it might look. At first glance, you kind of look at all this stuff and you go, oh goodness, there's so many numbers and different channels and things, but you have to look at this like it's a patch bay, because that's basically what it is. It's a digital patch bay. So I'll get into looking at all this stuff in a second, but just a few quick notes here. Up at the top, these are going to be your meters that show up on the front of the unit. So right now I have them set up for USB record, which is what's going into my DAW, and then USB play, which is coming out of my DAW. Okay. And these, you can change all of that in these windows up here. Whatever you want to see reflected on the front of your unit, you can. Now, we do also have a master volume for our line outs. We do have a separate mixer as well in case we need to do any Q mixing in here. And we do have phase swap on all of our A to D or input converters. So very, very handy if for some reason maybe you're using preamps that don't have the option to invert phase and you need to, you can get to that in here. We do have a ton of super handy, we have an oscillator tone that we can use if we need to check something or, check our speakers or something like that. We can control the brightness on the front of the unit right here, tell it how many channels we would like it to stream over USB. And here are streaming modes. If you have one of these units and you're encountering playback glitches, this is where you're going to want to look, our buffer size and our streaming mode. I have mine set to 256 and low latency. You can go all the way down to, I think, 64 bit or a 64K buffer and minimum latency, which is going to be ultra low latency. My system isn't quite cool enough to handle that, though. So those are our basic settings, but now the really kind of shining gem of this whole thing is this routing system here. We have our from section and our to section. ADC, this first line, these are the analog inputs, okay? And then down here, this is digital to analog, so these are our outputs, okay? This is kind of the most basic default state for the whole thing. So we have our analog converters, our 32 channels of D-sub, going to USB record. This is going out on the USB cable and going into our DAW. Coming from our DAW, or our USB play, okay, this is what is coming out of the 32 channels of our DAW. Those are going, you can see dark blue to dark blue, out of our outputs, 32 channels of analog outputs. So this essentially becomes a patch bay. We then, of course, have our ADAT inputs and ADAT outputs, SPDIF, there is a SPDIF jack on the back, and then our master mix left and right. That mix refers to if you're mixing within the actual Antelope mixing kind of platform in here. If you're just using your DAW, then you won't be dealing with this or these mix channels down here, okay? So basically what we can do is if I'm using ADAT preamps, I can select all of my ADATs and tell them to go to the first 16 channels of inputs into my DAW. Or if I'm using analog, I can pick the first 16 channels and do the same. If I want it to be 16 channels of analog followed by 16 channels of ADAT, we can do this. Now it's sending the analog inputs 1 through 16 into the DAW, and then ADAT inputs 1 through 16 into channels 17 through 32 of our DAW, okay? So the way that I have it, like I was saying a moment ago, I have it like almost borked that. I have it set up like this when I am mixing with my outboard gear, because that's all connected analog, right, on the D-sub connectors on the back. So this gives me 32 channels in and out, all analog. Then if I need to record drums, I have a second preset set up here to drag, or I can drag them down, or I can just select the preset. And now I have channels 1 through 8, which are all analog preamps coming in, and then all my drums coming in on ADAT 1 through 16 are going to channels 9 through 24 in my software. So, and you can go all the way down to patching individual, okay, I have a preamp coming in here, I want that to go out to a piece of outboard gear, and then take that, the input where that outboard gear is coming in, and send it in on channel 5 to my DAW. It's literally like connecting cables on a patch bay. It's exactly the same. And it's incredibly easy to use once you fully understand the whole thing. It can be a little bit tricky at first to get used to, because you do have to do a lot of mental math in terms of remembering where you have everything plugged in. But it's incredibly powerful once you get used to it. And it lets you, I don't need a patch bay anymore. I have a little patch bay back here on my aux rack, just kind of for ease of use. And if I need to connect anything through that, and I have those are coming in an analog 25 through 32. But I don't really need it. For all of my main gear in my racks, all my main mixing gear, I have it all connected, and I can patch it in here without ever having to do anything with patch cables, which is amazing. It saves so much time. No more of this fiddling around and trying to remember. I mean, you do have to remember the numbers, but the fact that you can just click and be like, oh, I need 8 channels of this and I need to send them there, it's so much easier than having to pull out 8 TRS cables or 16 TRS cables or whatever and patch it all into a massive patch bay rack. You need fewer cables for patching, and you don't need to plug anything into the back of the patch bay. It's all just digital. It's right there at your fingertips. It's super fast, super easy. And for me, this is like one of the main selling points of the Orion 32, is the fact that it works like this. But you can set up different presets with these, which is how I have them. Preset 1 for me is, again, ADAT 1 through 16 going to USB record 19 through 24, or 9 through 24, excuse me. That's my drums coming in on channels 9 through 24 in my DAW. And then when I switch it over to preset 2, or use the physical button on the interface to switch it over into preset 2, or second gear as I call it, then it reverts back to this setting that we see here, where it's all patched into my outboard gear, and then I can use all of my analog compressors and EQs as inserts in my DAW. And then preset 3 is a bunch of vocal chains going in and out of different preamps and compressors. And I can just swap through all those. So if I have a vocalist come in and they want to A/B a bunch of different vocal chains, I don't have to sit there and patch a bunch of cables. I don't have to crawl behind anything. I don't have to do all kinds of crazy routing in my DAW. The fact that it's all that fast and that easy and that flexible is just awesome. I love it. It makes my life so much easier. And I love things that make my life easy. So. Okay, so taking a look at that control panel, you guys can see just how powerful and versatile this interface is. Again, this is something that I use literally every second of every day. Anytime I'm making sound in my recording studio, which is kind of the whole point of a recording studio, that sound is going in and out of the Orion 32. I've had it for 2 years. I got mine used. They normally retail, the latest and greatest version is over $3,000. You can find used units like this one usually for $1,500 to $2,000. I got super lucky and found it in a pawn shop where they had no idea what it was. I paid $800 for mine. It didn't come with a box or cables or a manual or anything, which tells me that whoever brought it to the pawn shop either didn't know what it was or maybe got it through some unscrupulous means. I don't know, but it's been through some stuff, okay? It was not a pristine unit from the factory, and it has never once failed. And I really mean that. It has never glitched. It has never gone down. The few times I've had some kind of a minor issue, I just reboot the system and it's worked fine. I have never had driver issues. I have never had firmware updates fail. I have never, nothing. Absolutely nothing. It also runs over USB 2. So even if you have an older computer that doesn't have like a USB-C or USB 3 super speed or Thunderbolt or whatever, the Antelope, part of the reason why these guys are so famous is that they figured out how to stream 64 channels of audio, 32 in, 32 out, at 192K if you want, over USB 2, which is mind-blowing to me. So it's, you know, even if you have a bit of an older computer or you're using a laptop or something like that, you're going to have zero issues whatsoever. The latency is great. The converters are the best I've ever heard, and I have been in studios with some really high-end converters, Lynx, Prism, insanely expensive stuff, and Antelope holds up no problem at all. They're super neutral, super clean, really, really detailed. It's just, I mean, my life literally would not be possible without this interface. My career and everything I do in my studio is all built around the capability and functionality of this guy. So I highly recommend, if you guys need a lot of I/O, you already have preamps that you like. I mean, that's, you know, I guess that one of the downfalls of it is that it doesn't have preamps built into it. It is all just line level I/O and ADAT I/O. So if you need something with built-in preamps and monitoring facilities and all this kind of stuff, it's definitely not going to be your best option. But for me, I already have preamps that I like. I already have outboard gear that I like. I already have monitoring faculties up here in our PreSonus monitor controller. I have all that stuff covered. I just need a box that's going to get me tons of channels in and out as cleanly and pristinely and quickly and easily as possible, with as much flexibility as possible. There are some other units. PreSonus just released the Quantum, like 48 or something. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's a very similar design. I have not gotten a chance to try that out, though I do like PreSonus interfaces a lot, so that would be another option. Orion does have a variety of other interfaces, different form factors with preamps, without preamps, bigger, smaller. So, you know, I visited their booth at NAMM 2018 when I was there. Super nice guys. They really know what they're doing. But yeah, if you need maximum I/O, maximum converter quality, Orion 32 all the way. Cannot recommend it highly enough. But what do you guys think? Do you guys like Orion's interface or Antelope's interfaces? Do you use one? Have you used one in the past? Did you have a good experience, bad experience? Whatever your thoughts or opinions may be, we would love to hear them in the comments down below. Always appreciate you guys chiming in. Again, my name is Alex Scott with Consordini.com. If you guys want to purchase Antelope products, there will be a link in the description that you can follow and do so on Amazon. Again, that's going to help support the channel a bit, so we really appreciate it. Thank you guys a ton for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you in the next one.